Hey, this is Max, the musician's friend. We're here at Winter NAMM 2019. We just stopped in the Arturia booth and we're chatting with Sebastian, product manager at Arturia, about an exciting new product they just announced. Sebastian, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So what do we got here?
So this is the MicroFreak. It's a synthesizer. Basically, it's a synthesizer with a digital oscillator and analog filter. I think that's the easiest way to sum it up. That's a bit different for us at Arturia, coming from the Brute range, which was more like 100% analog. This time bringing some more like digital sound generation features in it. So the way the oscillator works is that you get to choose among different types of sound generator, or maybe you could call them synthesis methods or whatever, things like FM, chord generation, virtual analog, additive, physical modeling, wavetable. So each time you can choose with the type knob which type of synthesis you want to hear. And then you have 3 controls on whichever mode you chose to, well, 3 of the most relevant parameters for that synthesis method. So maybe like if I choose some FM, gonna get the FM ratio, FM amount, and some feedback. So yeah, each time it depends on whichever mode you selected. So this is the oscillator. Then it goes into an analog filter. The filter is a new design for us as well. It's a state variable filter, 12 dB per octave. It sounds really clean, kind of liquid, and very nice filter to, well, to let some of the digital oscillator go through. You know, it's something with a lot of character that kind of, you know, muffles the sound of the oscillator. Right. In terms of modulation, we have an envelope and a cycling envelope. So the envelope is a classic ADSR envelope, and the cycling envelope can be either an ADSR as well, or more like an attack, hold, decay, LFO. You can loop. The attack and decay time can have independent rate control and curve control. So you can go from exponential curves to linear, logarithmic, all continuous. The LFO is a classic LFO with some waveform control, and you can synchronize it to the tempo or not. There's a small modulation matrix over here, a bit the same logic that we used on the Matrix Brute back then, where you see all the modulation sources in rows and the destinations in columns, and just navigate in the matrix, set an amount to connect some modulation routings. Right, so that's about the voice. Then at the bottom here we have a touch play keyboard. It can be used well to input notes and also for the arpeggiator and sequencer. So the arpeggiator has a good, and the sequencer have a good mix of, let's say, classic feature, expectable features, and some more unusual things. So the arpeggiator can have multiple modes like up, order, random. You're gonna play a few notes and it will generate a random pattern using only the notes that I input, and this pattern will loop. And even if I press the same note again, it will generate a new pattern using these notes. So let's have a listen. For instance, let's play like an A minor chord. So that's one pattern. If I play the same note, new pattern. So it's a very quick way to just get some, you know, pattern ideas without really having to write them down. Just constrain to the notes you want to hear, and it's going to generate something. If you don't like it, press the same notes again, it's going to generate a new thing. Then there's these 2 features here called Spice and Dice. And a bit like the pattern mode, the idea is to generate a random sequence, but this time for gate length. Pattern is for notes, and Spice and Dice is for gate length. And the way it works is that it's going to, well, make shorter or longer note instead of having some regular, all equal note length. So let's have a quick listen. So this is just a regular arpeggiator, and as I increase the spice, some notes are going to get longer and some are going to get shorter. And at some point I'm going to have silences, and the dice feature kind of reshuffles the length of each note. So. Right. So again, it's kind of random features that you don't get 100% control on what you're doing, but it's a nice way to just generate ideas and, you know, get going and just mess around with the synth and enjoy the more of the voice once you have a pattern that is randomly programmed. One last thing is the connectivity at the back with some usual like audio outputs, a clock and MIDI in and out, USB that can also be used for power supply. And we have CV and gate outputs at the back. So for people who have like a small modular gear, they can use it as a remote controller or small sequencer for their rack. One thing I need to mention as well, I think I forgot, is that this synth is polyphonic, which means there's a single analog filter, but you can play up to 4 notes going into the filter with the arpeggiator. So. And the way we do it is usually you have an oscillator going into the filter and then an amplifier with an envelope. So when you play new notes, they're going to either be off or on. What we do here is that the volume of each note is controlled before the filter, so that if you can play pads and each note is going to appear with its own volume envelope, which makes it a lot more natural for pad sounds, for instance.
So looking at it, obviously it's a very cool hybrid design, taking digital and analog, putting them together, but just taking in the panel, the layout, it's a different approach than you guys have done. What was the high-level thought process behind all this, from the touch play versus a standard keyboard to just the layout, kind of the iconography? What were you thinking? What were you trying to do differently? What problems were you trying to solve?
So the key bed, I think one of the main reasons was just the form factor, trying to get something that's quite small, compact. It would have been a bit bigger with the regular keys. And also kind of a hint to some instrument that we love from the past, like the WAPs, the Music Easel, the Synthy, that all use that kind of technology. So it felt like a nice solution. Being able to have polyphonic aftertouch is something that we would not be able to do at this price with a regular keyboard, and it works quite well with the oscillator, being able to have independent tonal control on each note you play. So yeah, I guess it's mostly that, just trying to find a good balance of portability, weight, and also control. And actually, the keys being you have velocity control, you have aftertouch, and it's quite playable. There's the black keys are slightly above the white keys, so you still get that tactile feel that you get with keys. Well,
so you were obviously working this for quite a while, designing it from the earliest stages. Once you got the finished product in front of you for the first time, what was most exciting, inspiring? What made you smile as soon as you turned it on and played it?
It's funny when you develop these kind of things. You get hardware prototypes that look cool. Then you need also all the intelligence inside of it, and these things evolve over time. So you get from a moment where some things kind of work, but things are still a bit frustrating, and you're trying to find ways to improve them. I mean, that real revelation moment was in the plane coming to Los Angeles for NAMM, where the developers worked really hard to get us a final firmware version that we could show to people over here, and kind of finally we had something where it's highly playable, it's fun to use, the knobs respond well, and that was kind of the moment where it was like, yeah, I enjoy making music and patches with that thing. Yeah.
Cool. Well, Sebastian, thank you so much. If you wouldn't mind, if you could just give us a little extended playing so we can hear a little more of it. Sebastian, thank you so much for demoing that for us and giving us a closer look at what's going on. If you want to learn more and order yours, head to musiciansfriend.com.